Taking this blindfold off to see what this life's all about. Threw my virtues to the ground, drinking from the devil's cup. Take that pill, drink it down, flashing lights all around. High as hell, drunk like I finally don't give a fuck. 'Cause I'm breaking all the rules tonight. Not going down without a fight. As long as I'm still breathing, doesn't matter how hard you might try. You can't take this freedom.
Hey, this is the Overpass live stream. My name is Eric and I make apps. So, every week we do the live stream at 5 o'clock UK time. This is the time for us to discuss as a group different things about apps, the app market, take a look at other people's apps and give some good feedback on it. A lot of times in the week I get asked questions about things specifically for individuals that I just can't answer or I don't know the answer to, so it's always good to bring it up here. And usually we don't know what we're going to talk about when we start the live stream, but we're just going to come up with stuff. And sometimes we talk for a long time. Last week was an hour and a half. I think week before that was an hour and 49 minutes. So we'll see how it goes. But let's see. First of all, Minute Codes wants you to know he was first, right? So thanks, Minute Codes, for showing up. Azimuth, how's it going? Let's see. Shivam, you made it. This time you got the notification. Yeah, I want to ask you about how Flutter's going. Evan, apps don't have souls? No? Josie, how's it going? Evan, how are you? Let's see. Mega Man, 6th. Yeah, everybody, 6th, damn it. Ultron, to learn new programming language, do you prefer books or video tutorials? Good question. Nike is created by some sort of trail of tears. Mia, haha. Some sort of trap. Solomon, hey Eric, thank you for the response. No problem. Hussein, Gokas, how's it going? And Omer, how are you? So we already got a question. So already we got the first question here, which is, do I prefer to learn from books or video tutorial? If you had asked me 5 years ago, I would have said books. I prefer learning from a book, but I think video tutorials have gotten so much better. In the last, maybe not 5 years, maybe 8 years or so. They've gotten so much better where it's so much easier to be able to see somebody code something, right? Just to see what they're doing, and not just seeing what they're doing, but you get to see the thought process, right? So when you read a book, you go through and you just see a chunk of code, and you just, sometimes I can remember having a physical book, a physical computer book, and sitting there and just typing it in. Okay, why is he doing that? Why is he doing that? And sometimes when they're typing the code in, they can say why they're doing it. And there's a lot of really good tutorials out there that I think is better. So sometimes I've done courses on Udemy where I never pay like whatever the real price is. I always wait, because Udemy courses are always on sale for like $9.99 or $10 or $10.99 or something. They're like on sale. It seems like they're on sale 90% of the time, and they try to say, oh, the sale's nearly ending, right? It's that kind of thing where they're always trying to give you that scarcity. Sale ends in 2 days, be quick, purchase these courses. But like 2 days after that, they go on sale again. So, but Udemy courses I've purchased, and then I've done, and then the YouTube also has loads of tutorials. And I think YouTube is going to be the way that we learn how to do most things in the future. It's so nice to be able to just have somebody show you what to do and demonstrate it for you. Even when we do, like when I talk to the team and I give a task for something that might be new, I'll just launch Camtasia and say, here's what you do. You click on here, you move this over here, and it's much easier to just show somebody. But the problem with YouTube is sometimes it's like going to certain chapters of a book or blog posts or something like that, because you're not getting a full end-to-end thing a lot of the times. I always talk about the nice thing about having a book is that towards the later chapters, that's where you get error handling or deployment, things like that. The stuff that a lot of times it's easy to just skip over, or you think that's not really important. That's why a lot of people don't do error handling in their codes, or they implement error handling once they go live and they find out that maybe having nothing in the catch block is a bad idea. I have to do try catch in the catch block. Do nothing, right? And then it goes live and people are complaining it doesn't work, and you have no idea why. So that's kind of how that goes. So Zohybe says documentation. Oh, Solomon, I'm Solomon, you fool. I don't know, Evan. I don't know what that means. Check with me says how much you earn. I've done a couple videos on that. It's pretty much the same as last time. The reason I haven't done an update on how much money I make is because it's about the same as it was. Although I can show the daily revenue spreadsheet if you want. Actually, it's lower. It's lower now because of the iTunes has gone down, because we've moved a lot of our apps from Apple, and that's just tanked. So I checked my revenue last month from Apple payments, in-app purchases, and purchases. It was like 230. It was less than 300 pounds, right? It was like, and before it was like 800 or 900 each month. And the reason is it's not because the downloads have gone down. Well, the downloads have gone down because I removed a bunch of the apps because Apple are being difficult about the 4.3 thing. So, but mostly it's about the same. It's around 100 pounds a day. It's just like sometimes it'll be 95, sometimes it'll be 110, but it just stays around there where it's that's, I think I calculated it. I calculated for somebody in a comments. They say if you were to not do any client work, and I don't want to talk about the client work because that's up and down too. But if it was just the apps, just passive income, it's around 42,000 pounds a year, I guess. So it's which is nice because that's like a job, and it's a job where I don't have a job. However, we also got all the other stuff going on with clients, and so I got the team, and we're trying to build something, and you got to, if you're going to build something, if you're trying to scale up, then you have to invest in that, and that's why every so often I think maybe I should just when fear sets in, that's when you start thinking maybe I should just stop all that and then just live off the app revenue. But no, we're going to build something here. So hopefully that answers your question, Tech With Me. Shivam says, I'm working on a few basic apps with Flutter just to get the hang of it. I'll drop you an email when the 2 or 3 are ready. No, that'd be cool. Happy BA Pilot. Is that it? BA Pilot? Hey, how's it going? Mega Man says, what are the minimum spec Mac you needed to build the current iOS app? See, Mega Man, I think we've done a little bit with Mac and Cloud just to see whether or not we can get that to work. And we had it working with this thing. I think it just depends on how slow it is. I don't know what the minimum specs are. But like initially what I was going to do was get a Mac Mini. Before I got the MacBook, I thought I'm just going to get a Mac Mini. And then hopefully I could just use that for compilation. And I was thinking more in terms of Corona apps and Ionic apps and things like that. But I prefer having the Mac because I can run Xcode in it. And so my spec on my laptop here, which I've had for 5 or 6 years, just over 5 years. So it's getting a bit old, but I don't want to replace it because I don't want to buy another Mac. It was hard enough buying the first Mac. But it's got 16 gigs of RAM. Because at the time I was still contracting and I was doing a bunch of SharePoint stuff. So SharePoint has to be run on Windows Server. So I had this virtual machine which took like 100 gigs of space. It was ridiculous. So I got the extra big SSD and 16 gigs of RAM. And it's served me pretty well, but I still keep running out of space on it. And, I think at some point I might need to upgrade it. I'm really tempted by those iMac Pros, but yesterday I was in a meeting with somebody. It was a client, and I got out my iPad, and he says, "Yeah, I don't like Apple tools." And I thought, you know what? I don't like Apple tools either. I'm just into the ecosystem. They're the same way that. So I got the iPad, and then I got the iPhone. The iPhone I definitely didn't want to get. I did not want to get an iPhone, except that I needed iOS 11 for testing, and the testing iPhone I had, which was an iPhone 5C, wouldn't support iOS 11. So my day-to-day phone became my iPhone because I thought if I'm going to spend that much money on it, I don't want it to just be sitting in the office. So it's a nice phone hardware-wise, but I prefer having an Android phone. And there's always certain things like Siri. I hate Siri. Siri sucks. Right? It's just it always uses when I drive the car. I use Google Music is my main music thing. So the nice thing when I had the Android phone in the car, I could say, hey Google, play Nina Cherry or something from the 80s, something obscure, and it would know and just play it. And now the Apple one or Siri would only play what's in my music library, which I have like 2 albums on iTunes. So there's no way to set it to use that. The same with Maps. Google Maps is superior to Apple Maps, but Siri uses Apple Maps, and there seems to be no way to change that. Sorry to go on about Mac tools, but yeah, I would imagine if you just want to build, like if you're just doing something where you want to code in on another machine and just have it build, I would go for something like a Mac Mini or something, and just have it load up there. So, Tech with Me, love from India. Hey, how's it going? So thanks, Tech with Me. Minute Codes. Hey, since I'm a total beginner in Android development, here is a recent app I made. It's down-to-earth, simple notes-taking app. Could you please check out my app? Yeah, Minute Codes. I think you may have put in a link, but it was stripped out. So if you want to just tell me what the name. Oh, Notepedia. So let's do this. Will be our first app of the night. Let's see. This is going to look at Minute Codes app. Let's just move this down here and share. I'm assuming we're on Google Play, right? Let's go into share my screen. Play.google.com. So this is Minute Codes. This is his first app. So Notepedia, Minute Codes, cool. Simple notes, notepad, cool. Looks good. Demo note. Cool. All right. So I would imagine that note taking. Well, okay. So let's talk about it from an ASO point of view, because I think it looks good. Let's look at it from an ASO point of view. Notepedia, and Notepad. So I imagine Notepad would be something that's really heavily used. So yeah, you got all of these things. They all look very similar. They're all yellow, aren't they? So we got Notepad, Notepedia. So I don't see Notepedia on here, but it's probably very crowded. And I know you said it's your first one, but what you have here, Minute Codes, is you have the opportunity to put more on these screenshots. You could do the normal thing where you have in the app and you have the hand holding it or whatever, but you also have all these. You have demo note, right? And you could have something that was much more compelling that shows more text, because you have text on there. You could have something like, say, business meeting notes or whatever you think people will be using it. So you could have something rather than say demo note. You could have laundry lists or meeting notes or never forget a thing, or just have something like the benefits. So not just the features, but the benefits of what it is to do it. And because it's you're basically, you have these screenshots here where they all look very similar. Like it almost looks like you filled it in, like you're like, oh, I have to put screenshots, I'll just do these. But the screenshots, that's the fun part. That's the bit where you get to say how great it is and try that. So you have a lot of room there for like here, look, your description looks good. Wrote a really small note, feeling lazy. We have you covered. So you could put this into the note, right? You could do that. So if somebody does land on this page, they see something more than just that. So that would be, I mean, that's just my thing. So I mean, everyone else has something there to say about that, but I don't know if that's helpful at all. Let's see. Billy, hey everyone. Liam, how's it going? Happy Friday. Yes, Liam. So let's see. Daval Patel says, hey Eric, what type of monetization is best? In-app purchase, ads, or subscription? We did a poll on the channel the other day, right? Because I was asking. For me, it's always been ads. Ads do better because people don't want to pay, right? And it's let's go to that. Let me see if I can go to the channel. The channel's been growing really well this week. So thank you everyone who's subscribed. I think we're nearly at 13,000 subscribers. So it's so we like jumped over 12 practically. But there's this community tab on the site now where I put this. There's been 200 votes. Yeah, what's your biggest earner in terms of passive income? We got 5% for subscriptions are their biggest one. 12% in-app purchases, but most people ads is their biggest earner. Now that I just say what is your biggest earner. I don't say how much do you make. So it could be they're making $4 through ads and they're making $1.50 through in-app purchases, which is which is possible. Oh, sorry. Oh, I'm not sharing my screen anymore. Sorry about that, guys. So yeah, so this is the one on the community tab. We've added this, and I added. I'm testing out the community tab. I'm trying to figure out what to do with it. So this is we had 200 votes. What is your biggest earner from passive income? Ads is 62%. In-app purchases and then other. I should have had something on there to say what other actually is. But so I think that's the same with a lot of us ads are, and you have to think about. A lot of your users may not have a credit card set up and everything like that, so ads would make more sense. But you have to, I mean, if you make money through ads, you know that you need to have a serious amount of impressions in order for that to really make a dent, like to actually earn anything from it. And a lot of people, they're upset because they're not making enough from ads, but they don't have a lot of impressions, right? So either they don't want to annoy their users or they just don't have the downloads yet to do it. So what I was trying to think of this the other day because I think my conversion rate on my in-app purchases is just way too low, right? And I was trying to think of an analogy because I always talk about the shop analogy. I always think of the app store and our apps as a shop. Like the first thing you need to do is get them to walk in the door, right? You need them to download it, right? And an ad, like let's say you have a shop and you sell shoes, right? So you want people to come in there and buy the shoes, right? But people, because if they just keep walking in and walking out without buying shoes, you say, I'll hand out these leaflets for some other stores, and then I get a commission from those other stores. And that makes you some money, right? But you would think the shoes would be the thing that you really want to do because that's what's going to make you, just a couple of people making an in-app purchase is going to be more than thousands of ads. So sometimes we have to look at that, and I think that's something I do really poorly. I need to get more people doing my in-app purchases, or how do I make them more compelling and things like that, because I have been relying on ads for so long that I've gotten comfortable with the whole ad thing. I'm even thinking, yeah, ads pay more than in-app purchases, which is on a per user basis is nowhere near true. So I would think if you can make in-app purchases work, and subscriptions especially, if you can make subscriptions work, I mean, that would just be awesome. Because that's, oh, hey, thanks very much. Was that Emilio? Thank you for the $5. Thanks. Let's see. So I hope that answers the questions, but let me know what you guys think there. Yeah, thanks, Emilio. I really appreciate it. Let's see. I'm falling behind on the questions. So, Josie says, how many people do you think is optimum for an app team? I think 3. I mean, it depends on what you're on what you're doing. So I mean, the reason I say 3 is because I remember reading something from 37 Signals, the people who do Basecamp. They talked about the ideal team size is 3, and I think I just always carried that with me. A lot of times you're in a team and you're the only person in the team, and other times you're in larger teams. I've worked in teams of like 5 or 6 people, and I've worked in teams of just me. I mean, so it's not even a team. So it depends on the skill. So for me, like we're just doing this. Last week I did a process document. We need to streamline the project creation or the project delivery phases. So we put together like what would be the ideal roles in this, and I came up with the fact that I would like to have someone as an architect. I want to have a project coordinator, almost like project managers, just keep things rolling, make sure communication flows. 1 to 3 developers and a designer. We always need a designer on a project. I mean, all the projects we do, because that's the one thing. Without a designer, like if the code is okay and the design is really good, a lot of times that's fine. But if the code is excellent and the design is terrible, then things could really suffer, because that's what the users see. The users see the design. They see that, and they're impressed by it. Sometimes they will forgive little tiny bugs because it's just a nice design. But that's just my experience. I've talked to other developers who completely disagree with that. They're like, no, it's a code. It's like you're just putting a sexy front end on all this great code, and I think they're thinking about the wrong way. In fact, the fact that designers get paid so much less than developers, I think is, in some ways, is not right, because there's, a really good developer. I remember reading this once. The difference between a good developer and a bad developer is like 50,000 times or something. You get a really good developer, and they can do a lot, and there is no, they're constantly problem solving in their heads. You get other developers who are just like, you have to talk them through everything. It's like a factory type of thing. So, but yeah, no, I think I remember once reading 3, and I kind of always stuck with that. So. Dynamic apps. Hey, Eric, I recently released an app on the iOS App Store. Please, can you download it and give me some feedback? It's called Speak Timer. Dynamic apps. Do you want to have a look at it at the App Store app at the moment, or should we do that here on the call? Liam Phillips says, I have a 2011 13-inch i5 dual-core 8GB MacBook Pro, which I use for app development. Yeah, I got the 15-inch 2013 15-inch. Early 2013 15-inch 16GB thing. So Priyank Doshi says, how much time does optimized app name and description take to reflect results, or is it instantaneous? It's not instantaneous. Well, you can see results almost immediately, so that's why you should change something, check it, change something, check it. But sometimes something, like I talked about on one of the videos a couple years ago, I had this one Korean bubble bath, which was just out there and was getting 5 or 6 downloads a day, right? It was just, one of these ones, you just do that. And for some reason, it got picked up from somewhere, and it had this big jump. And I think it was mentioned in a blog or something, and then it had this big spike, and then it increased in the rankings, and more people found it, and it had this snowball effect. So sometimes that kind of stuff can happen. But the key is to start with the keywords. And if you can get other people to mention it and get the backlinks in too, that would be really good too. So, but sometimes things just take off. It's like you hit a tipping point. Let's see, Liam, cool. Chord Funk, hello, how's it going? Let's see, Hey Studio says, I am a beginner in Android app development. Please tell me, what shall I use, Firebase or PHP MySQL for my upcoming project? Which will be better? Okay, so I am not. So this is my opinion, Hey Studios. So I am not a fan of PHP. I've had but PHP is very scalable. You can do a lot with PHP. Facebook is in PHP. Laravel is apparently a really good platform. But I think those. You're talking about some really old technologies there, but you're in complete ownership of it. So if you wrote something in PHP and MySQL, you are the complete owner of it. If you can move it to whatever server you want to. If your server host gets too expensive, you can move it to another. But it's also something that you have to make sure it's up all the time. So like the nice thing about Firebase and the cloud services is that wherever it is in the world, you're going to be it's going to serve it properly. And if Firebase goes down, and it could go down because of your own code, which is your own thing, right? You have a bug in there or something. But like if the server goes down for Firebase, everyone's going to complain at the same time. So you have that to look like you know that it's being supported. There's like 24-hour support for Firebase, right? The downside is that Firebase doesn't belong to you. It belongs to Google, and they could take it away at any point. Now I'm hoping they don't, because we're going a lot down that way. But that's what happened with Parse. And Parse is, we always tell the stories about Parse. One day we're all going to sit down in our rocking chairs and talk about the time that Parse was all the rage and they took it away from us, and we spent all that time rewriting our apps. Because Parse was purchased by Facebook. They try to get as many people to use it as possible, and then they decided they couldn't support it, so they just gave you a year to transfer it off. They opened it as open source so you can host it yourself, but then you got that whole thing where you have a server. So let's say I have a server in India, and which we've done in the past, and the performance of the app is really slow because of routing issues and things like that. So ideally, you would have something which you could have a CDN where you're serving the images or something from someplace else. This is for like websites and stuff, but you would like to have something like a cloud-based something, so that, let's say like Node.js and Heroku. So you would have Node.js and Heroku. You could easily spin up multiple versions of that and have a somewhere redirect it and everything like that. And I think most of the times when I see PHP, I see a lot of session state, and I see a lot of just really ineffective code. So, and I think Firebase is sexy. Everything's there, because the odds are if you're going to use push notifications, you're going to have to use Firebase anyway, at least on the Google side, because they migrating everything off of GCM onto Firebase if you're going to use it for analytics. And I just think you have the database there. It's NoSQL, which has its own issues depending on how you want to do it. So I think, hey, studios, do what you're comfortable with. If you do PHP and MySQL, you are a complete owner of it. If you do it in Firebase, you have that. That's a dependency. And that's one that we're doing for a lot of them. So, Emilio, thanks for the $5. Eric, could you take a look at one of my apps? It's called Daily Motivational Quotes by Techstar Studios. Yeah, let's have a look at that. Daily Motivational Quotes. So let me show my screen again. Oh, I'm hoping the typo is not. Oh wait, I'm hoping the typo is not in the app. So, by Techstar Studios. Here we go. It's Techstar Studio. Did we look at this last time? I mean, this looks, Emilio. This not the one we looked at last time, was it? Or is this because I like this. I like the use of the stock images in the background. Quotes on success, inspirational life quotes. Free app, give it a try. Life quotes. I love the screenshots. I like the way. So when we talk about this, a lot of times when people do like the screenshots, they'll just do the screenshots, or they'll do a template where it's just a screenshot, like the inside the phone, but it's the same background. I think this looks kind of nice where you have these stock images in the background. It's just something that I think it does, because you're going to give them a certain feeling when they look at them. It's motivation and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's a really good way to do it. Daily motivational quotes, 1,389 reviews. That's actually really good. How you doing? 50,000 plus installs, updated in June. You're on version 2.3. I mean, how's it? Have you recently updated these? I think it looks good, but that's just it depends on what works. If we look, I think you're ranking pretty high for motivational quotes. I mean, so I got daily motivational quotes. I can do motivational quotes. Let's have a look at it over on App Annie. AppAnnie.com. So I just want to have a look. Daily motive. Cool. Techstar Studio. So you've got plenty of. Oh, you even got the the tablet screenshots on here. I think that looks great. Love it. Let's see. You could have a video though. I mean, you could have something, but let's see what works. So let's go to the ASO section. Daily motivational quote, you rank 12. Daily motivation, 14th. That's really good. Daily positive quote. It seems like you're ranking pretty well. I mean, you could go up a bit higher. Everyday quotes. Motivar, daily quote. 24. Because these are pretty crowded categories, and I think it looks like you're doing pretty well there. Whoa, what's this? Wait, which one is this? Daily quote. So for some reason you jumped up from 160 to 51. Now you're up at 26. So you're obviously on the rise somewhere. What did you change there? Did you add daily to the title? So let's go back through and look at. Actually, I know what we'll do. This is fun sometimes. Sorry guys, I hope this isn't boring you. Let me just check out the comments here. Let's go back to Wayback Machine. Let's take a look at this. Oops. Daily motivational quotes. So let's look at this guy. I want to take a look where we were 6 months ago. And I don't know if you guys ever play around with this thing. It's kind of fun to see where, like, especially if you're looking at an app and you see that it's jumped up, kind of like, what's changed? What have they done? Like, if something they've done has done it. Sometimes you can find it through here, sometimes not. But let's see. See if we have any kind of idea. Nope, it hasn't archived that one. Oh, that would have been good. That would have been cool. All right, so so I hope that's helpful. I think it looks really good, Emilio. But I mean, let me know what you guys think. Okay, so this name, I don't know how to pronounce this name, the Russian name. So I'm sorry. I know last week I said it too. It's like let me see. It's this name. This name here. I don't know how to pronounce it, but you say how many daily downloads per app should you consider to be a good app? I think as many as possible. I think it's actually not even the daily downloads, because it's more the I think it's more the revenue. If you got 10, let's say you got 10 downloads a day and you were making $5,000 a month or whatever, you had some ridiculous in-app purchases, that would be it. But it's more the revenue. The reason I focus a lot on the downloads is because we need them for impressions for apps, and you need to do that. We talk about the it's not, most of the time, like 99% of the time, it's not that people don't like your app, is they don't even know it exists. So if you can get them in, then that's what you want to do. So get up there in the rankings and everything. So Shivam Pandey says, I have a client app where the main content will be YouTube videos in a certain niche. It will basically just index them under certain categories. I already made the Android app, but does Apple allow it? I don't know. I really don't know. I know I've had apps rejected because I had an Android device in the screenshot, and I had one because I said also available on Android in the description. So I've had rejections for that. So they're a bit touchy about that. They want to just pretend that Android doesn't exist. So just like that other brand, which is ridiculous. Josie says, okay, the 3-man team I assume would be 1 Android dev, 1 iOS dev, and 1 designer. Please comment. I think it depends. If you're doing cross-platform, maybe. I would say 1 designer especially. If you're doing, it depends on the project. If you were going to do a API where you have a backend server, you might want to have 1 developer who knows the backend technologies. Maybe it's PHP and MySQL, maybe it's Firebase, whatever, and then 1 developer working on the front end. If you're doing native apps, maybe you need 2 developers, 1 for iOS and 1 for Android. But if you're doing something like Ionic or Flutter or React Native or something, you maybe only need the 1 developer and then the designer. But the thing about it is that one thing with the designer is that they're not needed through the whole project. They're only needed sometimes. So, but it's always good to have them there when something's needed. Bart Mamser says, hey, how's it going? Dynamic apps. I'm only 14. What do you mean by on here or on call? Oh yeah, dynamic apps. Sorry, yes, on the call. So done here. Okay, let's have it. Dynamic apps. What was it you asked me to have a look at? Please look at, he's 14 years old. This is his iOS App Store. So in order to show you guys this, I'm going to have to hook up my iPad. I'm going to try to do iPad. It's called Speak Timer. So let me just show you my screen again. And if you guys ever do, have to record your screen, it's one of the things that's one of the most difficult when you're trying to do promo videos or demonstrate something to a client, is to do is to share your screen. It's so much easier to do it with iOS on a Mac than it is with anything else. I can never get it to work really well with Android to share my screen. There's a Reflector 2 supposedly supports Android through that, but I can never really get it to work very well. So I'm going to type in my passcode. I don't want you guys to see what it is. Not that I think it really matters. Okay, go back to here. So this is my iPad here. So let's go into the App Store. And it's called Easy Speak Timer. Speak Timer. Okay, cool. And it might not work on the iPad, but let's do this. So this one is for dynamic apps. So Speak Timer, the timer that speaks. Is this the one? Let me just make sure. Make sure I'm not just supports iPhone only. Okay, well, we'll do that. All right, so we'll go ahead and download it. But let's have a look at your iOS store. So you've got a few reviews. You got a couple of 5-star reviews, which is good. For some reason, it's really, you see a lot fewer iPhone apps with reviews because they get cleared down. A lot of times it will just show you for that current version, which is terrible. So because every time you release a new version, it's going to be you lose all those good reviews that you had. Let's see. So deliver customizable speech alert. You got customizable is spelled the British way. So store and run multiple timers at once. Blank screen. I don't know what that. Maybe that's just not loading. View active timers in isolation, and that's it. So I would think that. Okay, so let me just go back. I'm unclear to see whether or not making timing is. Use a personal assistant, keep you to a plethora of day-to-day activities in life. Cool. So you got looks like you got a nice description. You got the app. Let's go through and have a look at this. Send me notifications. Yeah. Actually, I don't know. Should I let them? I'll let you send me notifications. Cool. Can we use your data? Cool. You got the GDPR form there. Nice. Wow. Are you sure you're 14? Am I looking at the right one? Dynamic apps. Let's see. All right. Yeah. Show me relevant ads. I can't do it because you're watching. Okay. So cool. And then go edit. You got the ads at the bottom. Cool. Create quick timer. Create custom timer. Cool. It looks good to me. How's it doing? I mean, it's a design. I mean, if you got a designer, that might be good. I know I'm looking at an iPad Pro 12-inch, so it's like a really big screen. I'm sure on a phone, it's much more compact. It always skews it. Whenever we do stuff for our client, I demo it on an iPad. It could be different. That's one thing when you have the iPad and the tablet or the phone. Some apps will stretch to fit. So, like if you have a game, you want it to be to use all the space, but just increase the size of the assets. But if you have something like a business application, you want it to be just give you more space because you can use it. So that looks good to me. What does everybody else think here? Yeah, dynamic apps. It looks like you're doing a lot of stuff. I'm just impressed that you got all the GDPR stuff in there, because I hated doing the GDPR stuff. So okay, so I go in there. So why is it called Speak Timer? Does it say something to me when it goes? Probably shouldn't have done it for a minute, but I think it looks good. I think if you got a designer in on it, that would probably be good because you can give some of these you can give these buttons a little bit more design. You've got a lot of settings in here. You can purchase Pro, that looks good. No ads, more nav bar colors, store more than 3 timers, jump to feature. Let's go back to, let's just go to the App Store page here. And the screenshots look good. Like I was saying, you could do a lot more than just, what you're doing, you're talking about what the app does. Timers deliver customizable speech alert, store and run multiple timers at once, supports iOS multitasking, that's cool. That was the one that was missing before. It just didn't load. View timers in isolation. I think you could do something more like the benefits rather than the features. But I think if it's working, it's working. So let me just close that. Go back to, and you've already sent me a push notification. Oh, that's the thing. I didn't hear anything. It might be because my sound is off. So I think that looks good. Let's see. And what else you say about it? So you say, yeah, you're definitely 14. Taking me a long time. It was getting around 5 to 10 downloads a day with a 7-day launch boost. Cool. Well, yeah, with a 7-day launch boost, do they still do that? Because it used to be that the 7-day launch boost, you would see a lot. And I just don't see anything anymore when I release something. Although now after that, it's dropped. It speaks when it ends. You can use customizable ad. So I think it looks good. I mean, I'm trying to. You might want to. Yeah, I mean, get a designer, but I think it's more looking at the. It's like what works. It's not what I like. It's what works. So you think. Looking at the ASO side, first of all, question number 1: are people finding it, right? And if they're finding it, how are they doing it? What keywords are they looking for? Are they? Is it showing up in search? So, let's open up. Let's go through, because on Google Play we have the acquisition report. On iOS we have the analytics. So you still see the same thing, but iOS also has how many times it shows up in search. So how many impressions it has. So how many impressions, then how many page views, and then how many downloads. So you get to measure that. So if you're not getting any page views, you need to look at, or if you're not getting any impressions or any page views, then you need to start looking at the keywords. So what can you do to get people into it? I mean, same old thing. We say the same thing a lot all the time, but the ASO stuff, if people are finding it, they're downloading it, but they're not making purchases, then that's all really good. You just need to get that conversion rate up. But I think that looks good. Let's see. Let me go back up here. I missed a few things. Knowledge Insider says, "Sir, can I active InMobi mediation without an API key?" I've never used InMobi mediation. For mediation as like the parent, I've only used AdMob, and I think it's InMobi's. Is it InMobi or is it MobFox, the other one? So I've only used that one, but I don't know. I'd imagine you need to use the API key. I guess you'd have to check the documentation. I wish I knew. Maybe somebody else knows the answer to that one. Brandon Mollis. Hi, everyone. Hey, Brandon. Deval Patel says, thanks. How many ad impressions are good enough for a decent amount? Again, that again goes to the location and the eCPM. So some locations like will have a lower eCPM or RPM on AdMob. So like I noticed that my AdMob revenue had dropped and my impressions were still the same. So I thought, why is the RPM dropped so quickly? Because I had a consistent impression, which was good. That's what I have control over. And then what I found was a lot of the new users were coming from India, and the RPMs were much lower there. So it's something to look at. I wish I could show you guys my AdMob screen, because I did that once, and apparently I'm not allowed to. But so what you want to do is go into the reports on AdMob. Take a look at who are your top users. What is your top RPM? If you're going to do ads, you should only do it to the higher RPM areas. Like I think I did an ad for Ear Agent, like globally. I just thought globally, and of course, and then all of it was filled up with India, because that was the cheapest, RPM. So like all the budget went over there, but then it's also the least amount that I make. So. Let's see. Brandon Wallace says, anyone using Game Center for real-time matches or turn-based games? What is your experience with using Game Center? I have not. I've used Game Center for just leaderboards. Game Center is the iOS version of Google Play Game Services. So you got the two of them, and I've never used it for turn-based, but I know that they can. I think it's because when we do games, on my side at least, we use Corona, and Corona, I don't know if Corona supports the turn-based things. It might do now, but it's kind of that. I didn't like to have the code that worked in different ways, so I think I just shied away from that. So I haven't done that. But if anybody else has, let Brandon know, because that would be the ideal thing. I mean, if you're going to have a turn-based game, I think that would be really cool. We looked at using some other services like not PubNub, but there's other ones out there. There's one called NoobHub, where you could do like a chat engine type of thing, and that would be the ideal thing, because if you do something that's not Game Center, then you could do it cross-platform. So somebody on Android should be able to play against somebody on iPhone, especially if they know each other, right? So that was one of the big drawbacks I see of using Game Center or Google Play Game Services, is that like you have leaderboards, but it's only for that one platform. But if you go something else, you have to pay for it, which is which could be a small price, but it's always based on bandwidth, and you never know how big it's going to be. Emilio says, Eric, how much do you pay for App Annie premium tools? Emilio, I have never paid for App Annie premium tools, ever. I do not have App Annie premium. You know why? Because it is super expensive. Because App Annie is like every other app company out there, or company that serves app developers. They have like free tier followed by indie tier, which is super expensive. Like I think it was like $700 a month for the premium tools. So everything I show you, when I show you my screen, that's all the free tools, right? I don't pay for that because it's a ridiculous price. And I've had the salesman on the phone with me, and they try to explain to me why it's useful. I'm thinking, if I thought it was going to deliver, I would pay for it. Like if I thought paying $700 a month would give me, and I think the last time I spoke to him, actually it's like $1,000. So you'd have to find out in your area, right? And it was like $700 a month for one category. So you can see like what other apps are doing in that category, so you could make decisions based on it. But it wasn't going to guarantee you downloads. You still had to, it just gave you a bit more data. And if I thought that was going to deliver, if I thought spending $1,000 a month was going to make me $10,000, then that would be an easy decision. But I just don't. I have my doubts about it. So I don't. So everything I do is a free one. Let's see. Rauno Jarvinen. Sorry if I said it wrong. Again, you guys have to understand, I am American. I'm living in England. I mispronounce things wrong. I pronounce things wrong all the time. So I apologize if I get your names wrong. Eric, the stream has the wrong date in the title. I keep forgetting to change that. Oh, you guys. All right, so sorry about that. So I'm always doing the wrong title. 7th September. Thank you for telling me. All right, so let's go. Ratchman says, hi. Does using mediation affect AdMob match rate? Recently, I started using InMobi mediation, but match rate dropped about 10%. For AdMob, I don't know. I've used AdMob mediation, and I used it. One of the reasons I used it was because I thought maybe that would increase my RPMs for other things. And what I found was that I had to go through and manually adjust on a regular basis. And at first I thought, this is great. I'll just add all these I think I had like 10 ad networks in there when I discovered it. I thought this would be great. It was just the highest paying one will do it, and I don't have to redeploy with a new ad network. And what happened was I was getting trickles of money going into different places. So it's good to have just like 2 or 3. And what happened was I got a suspension on AdMob, and I had AdMob and AppLovin and Facebook. And when AdMob was suspended, I had an AdMob ad suspended temporarily. I didn't know it was temporarily at the time. I freaked out. But then the AppLovin shot up, and it wasn't as much as the AdMob was, but at least it was there. Like it wasn't. It's like it's something there to catch the water, right? If you have a leak, you want something to catch the water. So that was something that was really helpful. So I think just for that, I think you should have some sort of ad mediation in there. But let's see. Dynamic apps. I think we asked. Okay. Pritam Sarkar says, "Hey Eric, this is my app. Can you tell me what I could do better in this? How can I send you the link?" Pritam, just send me the title. I think because I haven't figured out how to post links into the chat. So if you send me the title, we'll do a search for it. Cord Funk says, "Yo, Eric, have you ever done custom views or custom layouts for Android or iOS?" Again, I don't really like Apple, and the Swift API is very inconsistent. Love Swift, though. How was your experience? Custom views or custom layouts for Android, iOS. So a lot of the stuff we do is like I'm not really big on using the platform specific things. Even when we do like Ionic applications or React Native, I prefer to have the consistent interface between the two of them. I know some people say it should look different for the both of them because you want it to be a consistent interface for both of them, but I find that most users don't really care. Like I never use an app and thought, this looks like an Android app, but it's on iOS. I never think that. I just think it's an app. So I haven't done it in terms of if using a cross-platform framework, varying it for the different sides. Sometimes it just does it naturally, like the drop down in iOS is that stupid scroll thing. But no, I haven't done that. And when we do the native applications, we use even then, I'm trying to think if we've used material design on purpose. I think sometimes it just goes into the platform. That's not a really good answer, is it? Sorry about that. I guess the answer to the question is no. But Hatham says, "Hi Eric, nice to see you again." Hey Hatham, how's it going? Brandon Wallace says, I am in development and it seems to work great, but I'm not real sure how reliable it is. Okay, cool. So, where am I? Nuno Carduso says, "Hi Eric, I'm about to launch my first app. It's an interactive multiplayer game, 1 versus 1. Cool. I'm afraid of having too much latency on the server request. How much instances do I need to reduce latency?" I wish I could tell you. Right? That's one of the things I'm concerned about. We did new pub, as I was saying, and we thought about doing something similar, like drawing, but then I was concerned about, I have no idea how much the server is going to, how much you need. So I would think that, is there some way you could measure it? I mean, is there some way you could say what the feedback is? Maybe put it into Google Analytics or something. I'm trying to think, just so you can measure it, so you know when it's time to spin up more instances of it. I think it probably, Nuno, I really don't know. It's supposed to be the amount of users that you have and the amount of bandwidth and the amount of calls that you have going simultaneously. So I think probably more than one, but yeah, sorry, I don't know the answer to that one. Hatham, hey Eric, can I have a direct answer? Do we get paid for ad views or clicks or both? Both. You get paid for, so if you ever go through and set up an ad on AdMob or any ad network, you pay either by impression or by click. So if you pay by click, like if you're placing the ad, so you're going to advertise your application, there's two different ways that you could do that. You can say, I want to set up this ad and I will pay 20 cents if somebody clicks on it, right? There's that. Or you could say, I'll do it based on 1,000 impressions. So there's two different ways of doing that, and you get paid more based on the click. But so you talk about, I have done things where I've done like 5 cents per 1,000 impressions, right? Or I think I've done even 2 cents per 1,000 impressions, right? And I'll get it, right? So that's like a lot of impressions I have to go through. But there's so much space out there to put, because there's so many applications that will get served. But you really want to do it based on click anyway. So it really depends. So like you'll notice that if you have ads, you'll get a trickle coming in. I mean just like a really little amount. But if you get a few clicks, you'll just see it spike up. So if you watch AdMob through the day, you'll see that it's like, it could be like an hour of nothing, and then in a 5-minute period, it just jumps up a lot, and then nothing, and then jumps up. So, and that would be the clicks. So it's not like ever not moving, unless you're not serving enough. So that you asked for a direct answer, Hatham, and I'm afraid that's not one, but it really is. It's more nuanced than that, I guess. Franco Guajardo says, "Hi Eric, what's the probability that an app has the exact same number of downloads than the day before? It has happened before. Is it possible that Play Store distributes app equally to users?" I don't know. I'm wondering if it shows up in search, because it's strange that there's some strange consistency on the number of downloads you get each day, right? Like even like on Ear Agent, it seems to be, it stays at one level, and goes up and down a little bit. But you would think that some days you'd have 0 and some days you'd have 500. You just like it would jump around a lot more. But I think it's more to do with where it shows up in the rankings and in the recommended things like that. And I do think when it does start to snowball, you start to get stuff. I'm noticing this on the YouTube channel as well. So it's probably the same kind of algorithms where we're starting to see a lot more subscribers come in than we ever have before. I think we've been getting between 80 and 100 subscribers a day the last couple of days, or for this week, which is crazy because you think, well, one day like a spike would make sense, but why is it getting? And I think it's because it's starting to get promoted more, starting to show up more in search, starting to be recommended things and everything too. So I do think the algorithm has a lot to do with it. The exact same number, I wouldn't think so unless it was something like 20. But I do think that I do think the more downloads you get, the better you rank. The better you rank, the more downloads you get. It becomes this chicken and egg thing, and which is you try to get into that. The hard bit is getting into that. So So Rano also says, how do you find good designers to work with, and how do you test their quality? You test their quality based on their portfolio. Never hire a designer without a portfolio. They should be able to show you what the quality of their work is, right? And then you also have to test things. How well do they work? How well do they communicate with you? How quick are they to produce things? Stuff like that. So there's lots of things but always start with the portfolio, right? The same thing as if you were going to hire an app developer and they can't show you any code or they can't show you any apps that they've worked on, then you'd be like, hang on a second, how do I even know you're an app developer? So the same thing with designers. You shouldn't hire a designer without seeing a portfolio, but then there's other things that play too. You can have a designer that's really slow, or you can have one that's really, my first designer was really fast, he was really good, but communication was terrible. Like it was just, he would go missing for days. He would, I would describe something to him and he would do something different. I think we had a client where we did a game for them and they said they wanted this little change. And I said, I need this little change. And then he says, okay. And then he went away and then he wasn't available on Skype anymore. It was really bad. I let him go because it was so hectic. It was that kind of situation where I have this designer who keeps going missing and I got the client saying, hey, where's this work? And I'm like, oh, no, it's a little bit more tricky than we thought. And I was like, where the hell is he? I'm panicking. I'm just panicking in the middle. And then he comes back and he redesigned the whole thing. He didn't make this little tweak. He redesigned the whole thing, and it was just like a bunch of wasted time and effort. And it was just not working out. So you need to find someone you can work well with. So there's my current designer, Sandy. She's been working with me for over 4 years. She's we just work together. We gel together. I've been out there. We talk every day. There's days where I'm in a grumpy mood and I might like we have arguments. But we also have stuff where she gets it, and I trust her design skills. Like I just say come up with an idea for this, or I'll come up with an idea and she'll have a better idea and she doesn't mind telling me her better idea, and that's exactly what I want. I don't want somebody to do exactly what I want because I'm not a designer. So there's lots of things to consider there. Rodrigo, you're watching while driving? Watch while driving? That can't be safe. Let's see. Dynamic apps. Are there any tips you have to increase downloads? As I'm only 14, I don't have much time for ASO and marketing. Well, ASO and marketing are free, so you either have to. I think you need to have time or money. Advertising it saves you time. You're spending money so you can get it in front of people. That, let's say if you did not have advertising, then you would still have to get it in front of people so they know about it, whether it's going through and hanging up flyers or going on social media and making loads of friends so you could tell them about it or whatever. That takes time. So advertising helps you just say, I'll put this in front of people. This other person's already built this audience and I want that audience to know about this, so I'm going to pay to advertise on that thing. That's what television is. Television is somebody's building up an audience and you could pay to advertise on to their audience, but they're not going to do it for free because they worked hard to build that up, and that's the reason they built it up. So let's see. Naruto anime wallpaper. Okay, oh, let's have a look at this. Bruto HD wallpapers. This is from Pritam Sakar. Sorry if I pronounced it wrong. Again, I'm gonna stop apologizing for mispronouncing things, but I should. I just think it should. Maybe I should write it on the wall behind me. I'm sorry. I'm gonna get a T-shirt that just says I'm sorry. I'm sorry I'm late. I'm sorry. Everything. Pritam Bruto HD wallpapers. Is it this one? There's a lot of these. Okay, I can see why you wanted to send me the link. Pritam, if you let me know which one is. So is this one? Okay, let's see. Cool. So Pritam says, just have a look at it. What do you think? It looks. See, Pritam says, can you tell what I could do better on this? Okay, cool. So Naruto wallpapers HD, AWS apps or ASW apps. I think the icon looks cool. I don't know what Naruto is, so I might not be very helpful here because I'm old and I don't know anything about trends. But I would say the screenshots are interesting. I like the way you have the image in the back and in the front. But you got little things on here, a minimalist HD, HD wallpapers, cool design. Minimalist HD. I think you could have something more there. Let's see. Because again, we're talking about you're selling the features and not the benefits. The benefits are show your love of Naruto, assuming Naruto is some sort of comic book or something, or cartoon. Sorry, I'm old. I don't know. So, but let's say show your love of HD. Turn your phone into a Naruto, whatever, something like that. So you can do something here to say what you do. So, I mean that would be something to do. Now Naruto wallpapers HD. Let's go to App Annie as well. And again, we talk about App Annie. Everything I show you on App Annie is not the paid version. I do not have the paid version of anything. So let's go to Google Play. I mean, I've had the paid versions of Sensor Tower and Mobile Action. There's somebody from Mobile Action. I was going to have an interview with them so we could talk about how to use Mobile Action, but I haven't set that up yet. I'm wondering whether or not that would be worth doing. Probably. On the channel just so we can look at it because I'm always confused by that. So Naruto wallpaper, your number 1. Naruto wallpapers 2 was Naruto, your number 23. So that doesn't look too bad. Yeah, I think it'd be thinking about what people would search for. I imagine they would search for Naruto, Naruto skins, Naruto. Yeah, so 23 is not bad. Let's see if you can get that up by doing some backlinks or something like that. That would be good. Or even just getting more reviews. So you've got 248 reviews. That's not bad. You've got 10,000 plus installs. So I mean, it's not too bad. I think it's more the Naruto thing. So going into Naruto, and if I've been pronouncing this wrong the whole time, I'm totally sorry. So 24 is not great, but there it is. But yeah, so I think it looks good to me. Let's see. Have I been looking at the wrong one? Sorry, Fun App 007. So let me see. Naruto wallpapers. Yeah, this is. Have I been looking at the wrong one the whole time? Full HD. Oh, this one. Okay, yeah, this is. All right, so you gave me the wrong name, which is kind of a thing. Naruto anime wallpaper. Okay, yeah, you gave me the wrong name. So Naruto anime HD anime wallpaper. So even searching on your own name, it doesn't come up first, which is not good. Yeah, I think. Yeah, there's lots you could do here in terms of the personalization. You have 14 reviews. Yeah, I would say go through and do different screenshots. Have wallpapers very soon. Yeah, I mean, I'm afraid there's not much more I can say. I don't want to spend too much time on this because we looked at that other one. We basically looked at the other one for so long. But I think, yeah, you need to try to see if you can get that up on the, I think. So, let's see. Rodrigo says, if I didn't know better, I'd say Eric is Canadian. Sorry. I'm not Canadian. I am not Canadian. You know what? People think that if they call me Canadian, I'll be offended, but I'm not. But for some reason, Canadians are offended when you call them American, I've heard. So then I think, hey, man, why are they offended if we call them American? So no, I am not Canadian. So let's see. FunApp 007. Pritam, do you want us to have a look at that again? Let's see. Alexei says, Alexei, just saying hello. Hey, how's it going? Let's see, did I miss something here? Watching while driving. Alexei, you're awesome. Hey, thanks very much. How do you get ranked for keywords? Any idea? So Daval Patel says, thanks. I'm not sure how App Annie ranks my app. How do you get ranked for keywords? Any idea? There's lots of ways. Backlinks are one ways. There's backlinks is probably the one external thing you could do. Also, if it's too crowded, you're not going to get ranked for it. Put it someplace prominent, like in the title. So if you see that, so let's say I have a game about gems. So I have a game called Gems Game. Both of those keywords are really bad because they're over. The game is not really a keyword because it's everything's. I mean, half the things are a game, so you're not going to rank for that. It's too crowded. The other one is gems, and there's too many gems games, so you're not going to rank for that. So you might want to try to do something else like rubies or crystals or whatever, and try to do something which is not as crowded, and then try to get some backlinks into it, try to get some more reviews. Google is going to say, well, if somebody's searching for gems game or rubies game or whatever, of all these different options that come up in search, people seem to like that one. So there's lots of reasons why people like that one. They're referencing to it more. It has more juice. It's more relevant to the search. So that's what it's trying to do, is trying to show that to you. And so you have to think about what are the reasons. I mean, why would it be relevant? One is because there's lots of reviews on it. One is because there's because lots of people are downloading it. It's this chicken and egg thing. So you're getting the downloads, getting the reviews, getting the backlinks to it if you can, and just making sure that it's relevant to the Google search engine or to the Google Play search engine. So sometimes just to break into something, if it's too crowded, maybe the only way you could break in is to do some ads. So that's the only way you can get in front of people, at least initially, so you can at least get it up in the rankings. Let's see. Hey, do you know anything about T-Series? I don't know what T-Series is. Speaking of T-shirt, Eric, how's the merch store doing? Cord Funk, how's the merch store doing? It is doing phenomenally well. Thank you very much for asking. I think we're going to open up a physical store in London because the Overpass merchandise store is just doing so fantastically well. I see people on the streets all the time wearing Overpass T-shirts and stuff like that. So, yeah, no, it's okay. So our merchandise store, which is on our website, and you've seen me wear a couple of the T-shirts from the store, has sold a grand total of 2 T-shirts, and you've seen me wearing them both. So I think we try lots of different things. Sometimes things work, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they don't work at all, and that hasn't worked at all. And part of my thinking there to keep it, why we just keep it on the website and stuff, is because I think, hey, maybe people will think, hey, they can't be that bad. They got a T-shirt store. They've obviously got a lot of fans, right? But it doesn't. So no, it's not doing well, Cord Funk. But thanks for asking. Let's see. Shivam says, how's T-shirts reacting to related to app business? We just did. It was I mentioned earlier that it's one of the hard things about having a designer is they're not involved in the project the whole time. So Sandy had a lot of downtime. So we started, what can we do? Let's try to do what can we do with? We did a lot of infographics. She did she did T-shirts. We did comic strips. We did lots of different stuff, and it was fun. All that stuff was fun to do, and she would come up with stuff, and I would come up with ideas, and she would just. I think being a designer is like having a superpower. Like we have an idea, it's like, hey, can you do this? Can you do this? And she'll go, let me think, and then she'll go away and come up with something. I think that's awesome, all right. And then, but it's getting people into it, and the T-shirts is not our focus, so it's like. I thought, yeah, and we're just using Spreadshirt, so it's like print on demand kind of thing. I thought we did that. So let's see. Franco Guajardo says, Eric, what's your opinion on people reversing the credit card payments when purchasing app consumables purchases? So I noticed this a lot. One of the things about Google Play Store, which is different than the App Store, is that you get to see all the failed purchases and the refunds. You get to see the refunds on the App Store, but you don't get to see them specifically based on each person. I think in our apps we do check, like when it opens up. On some of our apps we do anyway. We check to make sure they still have that. So like if they make an in-app purchase and you unlock that feature, you should have something in there that when they open the app later on, check to make sure they still have done that purchase. But if they're offline, there's no way you could tell. So it's a problem if you don't do that. And we've done that in a few of our apps, but not all of them because it's just too much of a hassle. Let's see. Emilio says, yeah, I got what's this? Rodrigo and Emilio are having a conversation about intellectual property infringement. So guys, take care with intellectual property infringements. Rodrigo says he's already got 2 trademark infringement notices. So yeah, that's something I haven't had happen. Actually, no, I've had one app which is a reskin, which was a reskin of swing copters, and I just thought we would do something called spy copter. So we did all new graphics, and we just did some purchase code, and it was my only real reskin, and it was removed like in 4 hours or something by Google Play. It went live on Apple, and didn't really, for all the good it did me, but that was a thing. So I guess I did get something there, and that's one of my suspensions. Maxim Copetier says, is it better to fetch app idea from a database or embed it locally in the code? Oh, sorry. Is it better to fetch app data from a database or embed it locally in the code? When would you do one over the other? So I think it's better to do it from a database, even if it's in the code. So if you have like a local database, actually, no, it depends. It depends on what it is. So sometimes, I suppose it depends on what it is. Is the data going to change? Is it something that would change from time to time? I find it easier to search a database locally, even locally or even remotely. So you don't necessarily have to. So you could have a local database which you're searching from. I think it's easier to write SQL than it is to do loop through a JSON array or something like that. But I think you should always do it some way that it's easy to change, because code is good for. Code is good for code. I mean, code is like you have code and you have data, right? And code should be operating on the data. So even if you had it stored locally, even as you said it, I'm thinking, oh yeah, you would have a JSON array that you would reference in the code, but it'd be hard-coded JSON. But it's still data. Like you could put that into a database, as opposed to having something in code saying if this then that, if this then that, if this then that. But I think it's easier just to go through and change that. So if you release it, even if you're storing it locally, if you release a new version, you could just change that. Now the difficulty will be is if you have a local database which is stored in not in writable memory. So like you actually take it and put it in the documents directory, and you could do that. So if you upgrade to a new version, you could still potentially have people running the old database or the old database structure, even though they've updated the application, and you have to have that alter. Like if you change the table structure, you have to have alter table structure. That's using SQLite. And we talked about the database versioning before, but that could be an issue. Let's see. Hopefully that's a good answer. Let's see. Anything says how to start a software company as a teenager. Okay, anything. You could start a software company with. You know what I would do? I would create a website and see if anybody does it. When you start a company, you're going to start off probably with smoke and mirrors, right? You don't start off with clients. You start off with, how do I get clients, right? And it might take you a while to do that or to figure out how to do it. Like, let's say you want to do an app company, and you set up a website, and all of a sudden people start contacting you. You know, oh my God, I need to proceed from there. Or let's say I talk with people about this sometimes. Let's say you're going to set up a company, So you go and you get an office and you hire people and you do all this stuff, and then you put out an ad or set up or you set up put a sign up somewhere or whatever, or put up a website. At that point, you may not get anybody come to you. Right? You're investing all this money and you don't have anybody. However, you do the opposite side where you just say, hey, I have this company, I set up this website, I put up these advertisements, right? And people start contacting you. Then you could scramble around and start getting everything ready because you know that the idea works. So you don't want to be in the one side and not the other. Now, I've had people argue with me on this. I had somebody say, you don't tell everyone you have a restaurant, and then if they show up, then you quickly set up a restaurant. And you set up the restaurant, and then you tell everybody about it. And I think so many businesses fail because they don't have the clients, they don't have the users, they don't have whatever. So it's good to find out if you have the users or the clients first. So you could do something where you set up the website, and then if people contact you, you can say, I'm sorry, we're really fully booked at the moment, or something. But then you could gauge whether or not that niche or whatever it is you're trying to do is going to fly because you were able to do a little bit of market research. And you can do market research by looking at what other people do, but the key is how well will you do. So I think a lot of businesses at first are, it's smoke and mirrors. Or if you ever seen the original Ghostbusters, and I know you say you're a teenager, so you may not have. There's that bit where they get their first job and they go to the hotel, and as they're walking through, they say, don't worry, we handle this kind of thing all the time. And of course, we as the audience know that they haven't. It's their first job, but they're trying to look like they're professional and everything like that. And sometimes you have to do that. You have to just do it, right? You know you could do it. You know you could do it, but you have to make sure that they know you can do it, right? So you could scramble around and do it. I mean, it's kind of like jumping into the deep end. And you guys may disagree with me. Let's see. Fun Zone says, sir, a quick way to rank an app on the Play Store. It's all that, the keywords, having some good keywords in your title and your description, having lots of backlinks, not even that many. I don't even have that many backlinks, but having lots of reviews. So if you can get people to review, beg and plead, and try to get them to review your app, so you could do that. So Google could see that based on that keyword, based on what if somebody's searching on that keyword, they could see what's the best one there, so that could be near the top, and that's what it does. It's just that it's all very logical. You think about what would be the goals of the Google Play algorithm. The goals of the Google Play algorithm is they want the people who go to it to have the best experience possible, to get the best apps. And the only way they can tell which apps are best is based on the feedback of the users, how many people are downloading it, how many people are keeping it, right? How many links are going to it. And some are just too crowded, right? Some keywords are just too crowded. So you think about, if that's too crowded, could I go with something else? Could I go with a synonym? Could I do something different? So let's see. Aquarius says, great channel. Thank you. Thank you very much, Aquarius. I'm really glad you're here. Letting says, gnarly. God, we haven't said gnarly in ages. And you remember for like when I was doing the weekly video, I put the ending on it, where it's the same ending every time, where I say, if you like it, say gnarly and all this stuff. And people got really annoyed with that because they watched several in a row and they go, I'm so sick of hearing that. So that's why we don't do it anymore. But I also don't ask people to subscribe or like the videos anymore because it just seems so tacky, and I just forget. I think I just started to think, what I'm going to talk about. I say it, hopefully say it without stumbling, and then and I forget to say that bit at the end. Pritam says, you were great. Thanks very much, Pritam. Pritam, I'm sorry we looked at the wrong app there. Devil says, your answers helped a lot. Have a nice day. You too, have a nice day. Blessing says, is it possible to ever successfully reverse an app suspension? Yes, I've done it. I had an app with almost 500,000 users and it was taken down. Blessing, I checked back. I had a video back in, I'm thinking July, where I had the same thing. My biggest app, Ear Agent, with millions of downloads over time. I might be like 800,000 active users, but it was just removed, and they gave me, and I appealed it, and they denied my appeal. Right, so I sat there and moped for a few days, and I tried to, be all positive for the videos and everything. I'm thinking, well, what am I going to do now, right? I'm gonna, so, and luckily they did not suspend the account, right? And then I went through and looked at the reason for they denied my appeal, and I looked at it more closely, and it said because it's pretending to be a hearing aid. And I looked at it because I put hearing aid in the title because I was playing around with that, trying to see if I could rank for that, and I could. It worked really well. But so then I went back to them and I appealed it a second time and said, what if I just remove aid? So I did a second appeal, and then they approved it. But the appeal wasn't just the appeal. I said, look, there's lots of people who use this application. It's very well liked. I'm trying to follow all the rules. I'm not stepping out of the bounds on purpose. If I've done something wrong, I will undo it. Is there any way you can reconsider this? And they came back, and I was so happy because it was like a week without having this app, and I just like moping around like, well, what can you do? What can you do? And people were saying, maybe you should contact him. Maybe you should do something. No, that's not gonna work. That's not gonna work. But it did. So blessing, give it a try. And there was somebody else in the comments. I can't remember who it was, but he said the same thing. He did a second appeal and it was approved. So you're dealing with people. They want, if your app is good and people are using it, whatever reason they did for the suspension, as long as it wasn't serious, like if it was just a little technicality and you can fix it, then tell them you'll fix it. Say, there's lots of users that will be very disappointed by this because Google wants the users to be happy. You want the users to be happy. The users want the users to be happy, but there's some violation there that they just had to suspend it. And, just see if you can make that point to them, I would say. Rohit says, hey, Eric. Hey, how's it going? Let's see. Letting says, relational doesn't scale horizontally. So you're talking about relational databases? I think so. Yeah, Graham Ford, fake it till you make it. Yeah, fake it till you make it. Yeah, that's true. Sometimes I wonder whether or not you guys think I'm more successful than I am. Sometimes when I read the comments in the videos, I just say, hey, it's me in an office. I got my team overseas. We got clients. I'm running around to all this kind of stuff. But sometimes it hits you like man, I hope I can keep this thing going, right? And it's just trying to, you have these visions of things being bigger and you're trying to build towards that and just working and working and working. And then you could either go into the mindset of, who am I to be doing this? Or you could think, all right, we just need to push a little bit harder. We need to do this. That's where I want to be. What do I need to do to clear that gap between there and there? And I think that you get that way. But I'm also very honest with clients. I say, I say what it is. It's me here. I've got I did have one employee in the office, and I need to get another one just because it made me feel a little bit more credible. I've got 3 people in the Philippines. I got the team in Vietnam. I got all these other people that I work with. But it is what it is. Let's see. Fun Zone says, one more. Can I get paid app reviews from where? You should not get paid app reviews. That's a violation of the Google Play policy. So that's something that I've never done. I've never paid for app reviews, but I know that people say it's black hat, which means they're cheating. And I think there's been some reports saying that how many apps they do have fake reviews and that people have paid for. And I've just never done it because I'm too afraid of being suspended. Right? That's I just don't want to do that. So, but Google it. Right? It's a bit too much on the dark side for me. Alexei says, but if there's more than one user needs to access the same information, do you need an external database? Okay, yes, Alexei. When I say use an internal database, I'm meaning if you have something say recipes, for example. Let's say you have a recipe application and you don't necessarily need that to be on the cloud unless the recipes are going to change over time, right? So if the recipes are going to change, then maybe it should look externally, but it would be faster if it just ran locally. So you would have a table of recipes and a table of ingredients, so I could select the ingredients, so bring up the recipes. I could do all that stuff. So that would be an internal database, right? And even unless I was going to go through and change that data and other people had to see that change, or it was going to be changed on the server. So that doesn't necessarily need to share between them. So that's what I mean about having a local database, because you could have, you could put it in code, like every recipe has its own thing, but it would make more sense to have a recipe page and then which would get the data from the database, the local database, and then display it. And then if you wanted to leave reviews on the recipes, then you could have that hosted in the cloud API, right? Then do that, because then other people could see it. But that's what I mean when I talk about a local database. Let's see. Mekab Worku says, do you think PWA will kill the native app market? No, I think what I think will happen, Mekab, and I'm just, I think that PWAs have not really taken off yet, but they should. There are apps out there that should not be apps; they should be websites, and there are websites that should be apps, and that's like the nice in between place. Like if there's something that I use once in a while, then I think a PWA would be good, or something just text-based, right? That would be really good. It doesn't have a lot of graphic calculations. It doesn't have like a game is an example of something that you need a high frame rate. We need a lot of control of the processing and things like that. And you don't want some new browser to be installed in the future date and completely break everything, right? But a lot of things a PWA would be perfect for. It just actually a lot of the business apps we see a PWA would be good for, but it just hasn't really taken off yet. And but yeah, I think the App Store will become more apps and less apps that should be websites. And if you look around, you can see that that kind of stuff. So, and we might have to rebrand Overpass to Overpass PWAs or something. I think I did a video which is very popular, which I thought the biggest problem with PWAs is they have a stupid name. It needs a better name, or we just need to start referring to them as apps and get users used to the fact that some apps are on the App Store and some apps aren't. Yours is not going to be, but it's still an app because it is. Let's see. Keshav says, what do you think of the performance between hybrid and Android or iOS apps, which are as big as well as small apps? Now, I think a lot of people talk about how hybrid apps are. This is Keshav. A lot of people talk about how laggy hybrid apps are, right? But I'm always impressed with how good they do, and you have to balance that. So native is always going to be more performant, right? Even hybrid developers will tell you that a native app will be more performant. The problem is you have to code it to both platforms. So development time is slower. It's more expensive to do. You've got all these issues there, and you could do things in half the time in a hybrid app, maybe even faster in a hybrid app. But maybe if you have like a lot of data, like in scrolling, it might be a little bit slower. But a lot of times it's not, because processing on the phone gets faster and faster and faster. The browsers are getting faster and faster. So it does. So I mean, especially some people, when they think about hybrid apps, they think about those early PhoneGap apps, which were really very laggy. And some people just do. I mean, some people be like, did you notice that little bit of look at that? Look, do you notice how it just lagged there just a little bit? And I'm just like, I don't notice that. I'm like, just, it works. Everything's working well. So, but I mean, it is. If performance is something important, like with games, performance is important. For some apps, performance is important. So you have to do that. So. Let's see. Funzo says, don't be afraid, chill. For paying for ads. Cord Funk says, I think that anytime you're doing data entry, it should be done in a PWA. Yeah, I'm thinking that too, because sometimes you just want, occasionally we'll have an app we do for a client, and then they'll say, can I do it on my Windows PC? And I said, no, because it's Android or iPhone, and that's Windows, and we didn't do like a desktop app, right? And then you're thinking, well, it should have been a website, right? If that's what they wanted, then it should have been a website. And a PWA could do that. You should be able to say, I'm entering all this data on the phone, but I'd prefer just to go open it up in the browser and do that. Nuno Carduso says, I would love to have you testing my app. Can I please add you to my alpha testers group? In a few weeks, I will launch the alpha version and send a quick quiz to every tester. Nuno, I might not have time. It seems like I'm always running around, especially this week. I'm always running around. So, I mean, I don't mind if you add me, but I might not have time to do it. And I don't really want you to be like waiting on me. But I'm sure there's other people in this channel who would love to be in the alpha testing for that and help you out. ChordFunk, have you ever tried instant apps on Android? No, I never have. I've seen it there. I don't even know what it is, ChordFunk. I should look into it. I remember seeing it thinking, but I've never tried it. Rohit said, and it was probably on a Google I/O. And I'm trying to think, was it on a Google I/O that I should have remembered? But I just can't remember. Yeah, I feel like I should know the answer to that, being that I'm, through the YouTube channel every day. I should probably look into that, but I don't know. Rohit says, hey Eric, can you give me some tips on how to deal with freelancer developers? Had a bad experience and had to fire a couple of developers for inconsistencies and bad quality. And this is my first game. Yeah, I think you should do something where, fire fast. Don't let them string you along, and get them to check and code. Like sometimes developers, they don't want to show you their code because they're still working on it, but you need that to happen. Ideally, you could get a code sample from them to begin with, just if you're concerned with the quality of the code, which you should be. But like if you know the code, you get that from them and be able to fire quickly. For me, it's always more about communication. Like I'm not getting feedback from you. I need more updates on what's going on. I need to see the code. When I ask for something, you're nowhere to be found, and it just becomes very difficult. And sometimes, especially with freelancers, if you go something like Upwork, it could be that they're busy on other projects. You're just not getting their time. You're not getting. They could genuinely be incompetent, or they could just be overworked on other stuff. So if they're overworked on other stuff, then there's nothing you can do. If they're genuinely incompetent, there's nothing you can do either. So maybe if they're overworked on other stuff, maybe you just need them to focus a bit more on this. Say, look, this is not working. You need to focus on this, whatever. But if they're genuinely incompetent, then there's nothing you could do. You need to get rid of them quick. Let's see. And ChordFunk PWAs are also fast to implement. That's right, you're the big PWA fan. I need to get into it. Let's see. Mega Man 2016 says, what's the difference between a PWA and a responsive website? Good question. A responsive website is just a website. It's like you don't have anything else in it. It conforms, it's perfect. I mean, it does what it does. A PWA has a manifest file. You can install it as an application on the phone. It supports push notifications, local storage. You could make it look exactly like an app. It works. The best examples I've seen have been on Android, but a lot of the things that you could do on an app that we just assume is an app thing, like push notifications or local storage, camera access, things like that. I mean, they're available in HTML libraries, so like later browsers, and everyone's on Chrome now anyway, so most people have it. But it works more like an app. It's like you could take any responsive website and say add to my desktop on Safari, I think, and then have it as an icon on your desktop. But this would actually serve it locally. It will store it locally, and it has its own internal cache and everything like that. And it's just whether or not the Safari supports it to the same degree that Chrome does. And I think it's getting better all the and GPS access too. They're more performant because it's run locally. So a website is run on a server, and you're downloading the data as you go. It may cache the images, but yeah, PWA is like an Ionic app where it's serving it locally, so it's fast and be more performant. So you basically have something like the equivalent of Ajax type thing. So you're still communicating with the server, but it's when necessary. But you can also store data locally. The app manifest where you specify things like orientation. Orientation. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, cool. So I think we have answered all the questions. How long has this been? Oh man, 8:32. Okay, I'm sorry. An hour and 32 minutes. That's it. I'm calling. All right, one more question. One more question from Josie. Says, what do you do when you find that your dev has resell your code? I've never had that happen. Thankfully, but you know what? Make sure you have. You know what I would do if I found a dev was trying to resell my code that I had paid for? I would. Let's see. I would try to look for legal reasons to do it, but if I can't find any legal thing for whatever reason, they're very slippery. I would publicly shame them. I would do whatever I had to do. I would go on to their Upwork profile and I would leave every bad review. I would tell everybody I can. I would make a YouTube video about how they sold me out, right? One of the things a developer, if they're going to do work in the future, they have to know that you'll work with them, and you have to think, you can make sure that you'll never work in this town again. I think I would get medieval on them, but that's just something that you have to make sure they understand in the beginning, that this code belongs to me because I paid for the time that goes into this code. But if you haven't done that, which is fine, but you have to make sure that they know how serious it is and the things that you'll do, and you go down there and so that's just what I think. So but I haven't had that. Yeah, Shivam, this hasn't been longer than the last two. I think the last one was an hour and a half. So anyway, once again, it's takeaway night. I think we had pizza the last 2 nights. Might be Indian food tonight. I don't know. We'll see. But thank you everyone for joining the live stream. I know it's been a long time. Thanks everyone for thanks FunApp007. Thanks again, Emilio, for $5. I really appreciate that. Maybe I will go out and have a beer tonight. We'll see. Or I think I might watch TV. I may end up back in the office. I haven't done a video for today yet, so I might come back later and do the video after dinner. And anyway, that is it for today. I'll see you guys next week, same time on the live stream, and we'll talk. And I'll see you tomorrow on the daily video. Thanks everyone for subscribing. It's so nice to see the channel growing, and it's always nice to talk to you guys and talk about this kind of stuff. Don't take what I say as being fact, but it's good as a group, as a mastermind, that we can all discuss this kind of stuff together. So anyway, that is it. I will talk to you guys later.
Taking this blindfold off to see what this life's all about.